Cycling Center.
Nope, 2008. That's my beer pong trophy.
All right,
Proudly
let's do
displayed.
this thing. Hey, everybody, welcome to League of Legends Anonymous podcast. It is me, your over-enthusiastic host, Wise Papa Smurf, bringing you episode 235. 235, right? Yes, 235.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, it's a winner. So we're bringing you 235, and in this episode, we're going to talk about how to get out of gold, because I know a lot of people want to do that. And even though I don't know why you would, because it's the best place to play, so here we are. I brought with me two experts on climbing out of gold. The first, and probably the best of the group, is Danger Penguin. Welcome back, buddy.
Thanks. Glad to be back. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And the other, who is a festering pile of shit, Double Sniffed. How you doing, buddy?
I'm festering, and my
That's
fester
nice.
is
That's nice.
rock solid, baby.
I
Rock
noticed
solid.
you've accumulated more flies slowly circling you than you had last week.
It's good to have a hobby. It's a good detilting mechanism to just fester.
You're like the pig pen of LOLA podcast. Like kid on Charlie
Everyone
Brown.
needs one.
I mean, Pigpen was probably more likable than a festering pile of shit. But
well, he had like piles of stink and dirt that just floated around him all the time.
Climbing the middle school social ladder was never my forte.
You gotta learn how to play the piano. You know, that kid was popular. Anyway,
was. And all right. Gay.
And yeah, he did seem a little gay.
Gay as hell, man.
Was never too into his girlfriend. Seemed like a beard.
He's really into that
Definitely
piano.
Definitely a beard.
So anyway, here we are.
Speaking of gay cartoon characters,
who's a gay cartoon character?
I don't know. It was a rough segue.
I thought you had something there. I was like, oh, who else? Like ruined my childhood on Peanuts.
Wise Daddy Smurf. That's
yeah, baby. Well, you know, he did hang out with like a million dudes.
There was only one chick. They had to pass poor Smurfette around.
I don't think they did. I think she was just kind of the odd man out, and they gave her fashion advice.
Funny thing is, none of the Smurfs were gay except for Smurfette. Figure that one out.
Hefty. Hefty was totally gay. No,
yeah, Hefty was super gay.
Much. Super gay, Hefty.
That dude is totally into decor.
Yeah, 100% into that blue uncircumcised Smurf dick.
Oh my God.
We've gone off the rails.
That's where we went. Right there. Right there is where it went too far. And then we're back. Okay, so guys, climbing out of gold. Oh, first things first. There's like an event going on right now. And you have to pick like a house or a family or some shit. And your options are basically like, what was it? Purple, green, red.
Council.
That's the name of the houses. Purple, red, green, and
right. But for the record, pick green. It's where all the cool kids
Did you take the quiz, or did you just?
No, there's a quiz.
Yeah, there's a quiz that you can take, and it'll tell you which house you actually belong to. It's like
the shit.
I don't need Riot to tell me where I belong. That's what ranked is for.
Okay, so now I have to take the stupid quiz to find out if I picked the right thing.
Yep.
Where is the quiz?
It's right on the main page. I
already picked.
Yeah, you screwed it up. You didn't.
Yeah,
no, I picked right. I'm just gonna take the test.
Where is this quiz?
It tells me where I picked.
Animated trailer. I watched that.
Well, it probably won't let you take the quiz after you've already chosen, but it's right on the front page for our listeners.
I mean, that's probably bullshit.
Riot.
I bought the Travels Pass.
Yeah.
That should be good enough. Let me take the quiz. Oh well, fuck it. I give up. Look, I took the quiz. It said green. Green's the best. So let's do that. So anyway, guys, there are some like rewards and shit associated with that. Watching MSI games and stuff. It's another one of those events where every game you play kind of tacks on. So if you're gonna buy the pass, buy it early. Yep. So that way you get the most value out of it. That's all I really wanted to say about this whole deal, other than to say, go green. Because save the earth, and you want to defend your people.
I think you should go with whatever you feel makes you happy, and not just arbitrarily follow the whims of some dictator who tells you what to do.
Right, I'm more of a despot than a dictator, because while I have all of the kind of natural dictator-esque tendencies, I do actually protect mine. That's the difference. A dictator oppresses his people. A despot does all the same shit that's terrible, but, tries to look out for his own. Right? Despot.
I think you're a despot, Blake.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway. There's also a new skin out. I didn't even notice. Okay, cool. So, guys, going to gold. We're doing this thing. You've just made it. You're gold now. You've ascended from the ranks of silver. Everybody feels slightly less retarded. And the quality of your games is like a swift breeze in the summer. It feels nice on your skin. Smell of flowers permeates the air.
It's like a herpes medication commercial.
Yeah, everything
you're in the meadow.
You had herpes and now you're in a meadow.
Yeah, you only have to take 1 pill a day instead of 5. So
actually, it's exactly like a herpes commercial because silver is where you just came from, and now you're in a meadow. So, yeah, congratulations, you're in remission. And so anyway, you've made it. You've succeeded. You've reached all of your end of season goals, and now it's time to get the fuck out of here because you hate yourself and you want to climb that ladder into plat. So, how are you going to do that? Well, there are a number of things that start becoming emphasized in gold, and I'm going to skip saying anything about macro because I honestly believe that macro is not the path to get out of gold. So, do you guys agree or disagree? Because that's a pretty fiery opinion on that. Because I know it's controversial.
Yeah, I think you can definitely get out of gold without macro. I think if you can figure out macro and you can find a way to rally your troops to actually listen to you, then you can get out of gold faster. But that is a very difficult task in the joy that is solo queue. So I think you don't need to know macro to get out of gold. I think that if you can execute it, you could climb faster. That's my opinion.
Yeah, it's always going to be easier with it. You don't need it as a precursor, but yeah, I think you're going to win more games, and you're going to come back from more games by understanding macro and incorporating that into your game if you've got it. The issue is if you just came from silver, do you really know macro or do you think you know macro?
Yeah,
that might bad macro will definitely make it harder. So you will encounter gold players that think they know what they're talking about, and they don't.
Well, I'll just put it this way. 2 things. First things first is, one, trying to get out of gold by mastering macro is like trying to go to college by getting a jumping rope scholarship. Right? I'm sure there's a place that'll take you for that, but it's going to be pretty hard to find. Okay? 2, if macro was required to get into and out of gold, then there's no explanation for derp.
That's a flawless argument.
Damn!
So
hey, Danger, I'm going to need you to take one of those beer bottles in the back and pour a little bit out for my boy. He just got slumped.
He's just...
That was savage.
Just can't argue with the truth.
Yeah, it's incredibly savage truth. But yeah, no, I mean, the reality is there are things that dude's good at, and none of those things are macro, and he basically blasted through gold, right? So
has he gotten to plat?
I don't know, but he's always like floated right at gold 1.
Gotcha.
So I mean, that. And that being said, if you can get to gold 1, you can get to plat. Nobody gets hard stuck in gold 1. You know what I mean? It's a matter of games at that point if you can get there. So whatever, but like I said, it's an interesting thing because like this is the time whenever you start mastering your laning phase, you start shoring up your like basic level fundamentals, right? So like I was talking to Zill last episode about the importance of like whether looking at your mini map is a macro skill, and I said I don't think it is. I think it enables macro skills, like it's a precursor, right? And then we had a bit of a back and forth about whether that was the case or not, or whatever, and or whether that was semantics. And I honestly, I still don't really. I think it's an important distinction, right? Like, um, you know, uh, you got to be able to run and before you can do hurdles, right? So it's kind of like a precursor skill. Either way, this is the time when those building blocks start becoming super important for what you're going to do at the next level, right? So in gold, this is the time. I'll tell you, okay, so I I fucked up whenever I got to plat. I fucked up because I had very shit map awareness. And it really, really hampered me because I knew like when to be aggressive, when to go in, when to force an all in, when to use my ignite, when to ult, when to blah 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 blah. Like I knew all that shit and how to play the lane phase down pat, right? Like that's how I blasted out of gold. Then I got into plat, and it turns out I have like no ability to absorb information from the map. I just can act on what I've got in front of me, and that's what I do. It's like, oh, do I have a possible win here? Great. And then the jungler keeps showing up because he was sitting right there in the fucking bush, and I just never looked. Right? That was a huge problem of mine. And it wasn't until like plat is where like you iron out a lot of those like deficiencies. Gold is where you bring up your minimums, right? Like, okay, imagine again, because I've always used this as an example. Like, imagine climbing Elo like you're building a pyramid, right? Like important blocks go and build on a fundamental level, and then you build on those and build on those and build on those until you get taller and taller and taller. It is actually possible to get to high Elo by building a tower straight up by stacking blocks and becoming really good at one thing. It's very difficult to do and it's very fragile because you have so many problems elsewhere that you're going to lose games because of that shit. But it's possible to do like the tower approach of I'm going to be a mechanical god and I'm going to get to plat, whatever. Okay, fine. But when you're in gold, it's about raising the minimum height of your pyramid. So I don't want to have any blocks missing before row 3. Right? Like that. That needs to be the way in which you think. Is I need to make sure I'm not missing fundamentals here. And then
You
I'm
don't want to
just
build your house on sand.
oh lord. Yeah, sure. Why not? But I mean, that's the kind of thing
It's
I'm
from the
talking
Bible,
about is
like
I am aware that it's from the Bible. So, you don't want to build your house on sand, you want to build your house on bedrock. But, that being said, it's those bottom few levels that you really want to make sure you're not missing any stones. Then in plat, you may have stones that go all the way up to like level 6 and peak out there, and then there's divots back to level 3, and then level 6, and then level 3, and then level 5, and 3, and 4, and 5, like that. And so at that point, it's not about building up your minimums, it's about supporting your peaks. Right? Like,
So, what do you think are the most important minimums to help your climb through gold?
okay. Map awareness is really important. Though you can get by without it. Like you can get by without I mean there's not a
There's
skill
always
in
an
the
exception
game.
to the rule,
Right,
right?
well,
Yeah.
I did, is what I'm saying. I came out of gold with shit map awareness, right? But I was that much better at like the other stuff that I was good at that it made up for it. And you can do that. It's just not a wise thing to do. You know what I mean? Like I ironically spurned my own name in climbing out of gold because I didn't do it in a very smart way. So, baseline level skills would be like camera control. So you got to unlock that camera for sure.
oh god.
And I just got in an argument with somebody about that like last night. And they're like, oh, it doesn't matter. I play Yasuo. And I'm like, oh, I want to die a little on the inside. It does matter. How do you... You
How do you
don't have
ever
any
check what's going on the
information that's...
map?
Was it
Yeah.
Dark Knight?
Yes, it was.
I knew it. Yep.
Second savage call out of the episode. Sorry, community.
No, I duo
You're-
with him, and he told me he plays Yasuo on a lock screen. I was just like, how? I was like, what do you do with your thumb?
And the thing is, Dark Knight
Just
is
use
good.
your space. He is good. He's really good.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
And so just imagine how much better he would be if you could
Again.
use the whole screen.
Yeah,
Here's
again.
Your favorite part of the screen, the whole screen.
That's what I'm saying. Again, peaks and valleys, right? Because when the camera's centered on you, you are losing at least half of the information is not valuable.
Hmm.
You know, and that's the reality. Is like if you have a turret behind you, then you need to be here, and the turret's over here. Like you need to be here, and the rest of your screen's like that, so you get all this extra vision. You know, well, that doesn't really translate for people listening to the podcast, but you need to be on the edge of your camera, so that way you get the ability to see in front of you in a wider scope.
Yeah.
very rarely is the portion of your screen that is behind you helping you,
Right.
unless you're in the thick.
Or like this one's my favorite. In bot lane, you have the screen off of the map. Right? Like I see that a lot. Like people who are looking at the artwork that's beyond the edge of the wall. And I'm like, what useful information are you getting from that? Like
Right.
you can see a rabbit or something in the background and be like, oh man, I feel better. I'm less tilted now. You know, or what the fuck? You know, you get nothing out of that. So aim it more towards the river because everything to the right is totally useless after the wall. You know, shit like that. That being said, yeah, that's one of those kind of minimums is unlock your camera. Yeah, you can get by without it, just like you can get by without map awareness, but it's going to hamper you real hard. And whenever I get to Plat and we talk about Plat being the ultimate glass ceiling, it's shit like this is why Plat is such a glass ceiling. Because Plat is the can you get over your deficiencies elo. Like that's what it is can you recognize what you do wrong and what you do poorly and break hard ingrained habits. And it's easier to do that if you set up the building blocks in gold. Right? So, okay, other building blocks. CSing, I know I hate, but it's true. Got to be able to CS. It's the most fundamental way in which you get gold in the game, and if you're bad at it, sorry. You're
and
not
if you're
gonna...
jungling pathing, like that's just always a given.
If you're jungling pathing, if you're supporting positioning and zoning would be two of the things that you should work on as a fundamental skill because you don't have CS. Warding would be another. You know, that being said, like these are all major skills, and then there are like minor tips and tricks that you can pull that you should be working on, right? Like these are things I went over with Ashley and like all the coaching sessions that got her to gold. And those are things like if you're fighting next to a bush, fucking ward it. So you don't lose vision, because that will win
Cost
you
you
so many.
kills
Yeah, it'll win
so
you
many
so many
times.
fights to just have vision of that bush. You know, no other way around that. So like doing shit like that, like warding, warding bushes. Don't be afraid to use your ult. Like everybody wants to save the ult until it's like, oh my god, it's the last second I got an ult. And 99% of the time, your ult is better fired near the beginning. In most cases. You know. Don't save summoner spells. Use them if you need to use them. Like don't hesitate on burning long cooldowns. That's what they're for. Don't be afraid to go all in. Like you'll never win a game of Texas Hold'em without going all in. You just don't. Right? It's a huge mechanic of that game. It's the same with this one. If you are unwilling to completely commit, then you're going to lose. Right? These are things that are like hard fundamentals of the game that you can put effort into each and every one of those things, and then you'll see kind of a noticeable difference. Level 2 power spike. that's another one, particularly in the bot lane, that doesn't you don't see it become an objective every game until like mid plat. In mid plat, it's like a coin flip as to whether they're going to try to go for it. You know? So what are some other ones that you guys can think of, or have I pretty much exhausted the list?
I mean, from a jungler standpoint, I would say, counter jungling, getting to the habit of if you were late on the trigger on a Drake and you see that they've taken a Drake, you know that the jungler's in a spot. Punish him for it. If he ganks top, that means he's not in his jungle. Punish him for it. That's the getting in the mindset of knowing where people are on the map and making them pay for being there, making them lose something, even if they get a successful gank up top. Well, great. I mean, you're not there to stop it. Maybe you should have been, maybe you shouldn't have been. But what you can do is probably go into their bot side jungle and take some camps or counter gank another lane so that it's not a total loss. I think that was the biggest thing, is learning how to counter jungle to get out of gold. For me, drop a ward while you're there so that when the dumbass enemy jungle comes in expecting all his camps there, you can see his bewildered circles on your mini map. It's just like, where are my camps?
His sad sack face as he loses hope.
Yeah. Oh. And then he knows the next time he goes top lane, you're going to take all his shit. So he may not go top lane anymore because that gank percentage is what, 30%? But the chances of him showing top and losing his entire jungle are going to be 100% in his mind.
Yeah.
And that's how you get in those games. I'll let you go ahead, Danger.
Yeah, I think you hit on my favorite one, which is always warding. In silver, wards are for supports. And if you want to get out of gold, wards are for everyone. And not just wards, but smart and interesting wards. Like everyone knows, okay, I'm gonna ward this bush, right? The one that's closest to me that will help me avoid a gank. But what would really help you avoid a gank is if you push your lane in, you wander, like say you're top, you wander down into the jungle, ward deep, and then when the jungler's in the top area at all, and you can start playing safe. You don't need that ward right next to you. You need a ward that gives you knowledge where the other team is. And when I was climbing through gold, as a support, I would go way up into the jungle once we pushed and before I backed, get a deep ward. Then when they're in there and they're not looking for your ward, right? They're not sweeping that area, and you get so much more information. That helped me a ton. It's just expanding my knowledge beyond that base. Okay, I'm going to keep myself warded so I don't get ganked. That's great. That's a good skill to have, and it will definitely help you get through silver. But going to that next level and being like, I'm going to start tracking where they're going and when they're going there, and then I can use that information to decide how I play. That's definitely going to help you climb out of gold.
And that top ward especially, if I'm on the blue side and they're on the red side, and I know that they're at the top side at their red buff, and I'm a jungler and I've got a control ward in my pocket, and my top laner warded their jungle, and I know he's on Krugs, I know he's on the top side of the map. In gold, I don't necessarily have to worry about priority as much. As long as the lanes are even, I can drop a control ward, and if they don't see the dragon, most of your gold levels, you're just going to get a free Drake if you've got the right jungler. So those wards not only protect you in the top lane, that gives a lot of information to your jungle, which is really, really helpful. Getting your jungler the tools that they need to make the right decisions and make the optimal plays is going to influence the game. And I do think that that's one of the most influential roles, period, especially in the first 15 minutes. Good junglers win games. Bad junglers can lose games, bar none. Every other lane can go dead even, and it's just jungle difference sometimes. Whereas I think other lanes...
That's really that's really interesting, because like jungle is like the new autofill role.
It's because it's hard, in my opinion.
It sucks.
It's difficult to play jungle well because, I mean, everyone hates CSing, right? Oh, CSing, it sucks, it's hard, I never do it. Well, that's fine, but it's straight there and it's right in front of you and you know what you're doing. Now with jungle, you got to think, okay, what's my matchup? Where is he starting? What's his likely second camp? Can I get this camp? How early do I gank? what lane priority do I have? Who's gonna push? Who's not gonna push? You're so cerebral as a jungle, and you have to keep thinking. And like Astro said, he got burnt out on it because you're always trying to track. You're always trying to. In my opinion, it's by far the most difficult role, and
it is a
that's
rough role. And I think the reason it's auto-filled now is because of the nerfs to jungle EXP. And number two, you had, they changed this. Now the Scuttle Crab spawns at 3 minutes. I'm so happy about that. It's so awesome.
That's going to bring a lot of other junglers back in the meta, which I enjoy.
And like, there's so many times where you have this Scuttle Crab fight, and it just feels like a coin flip. You know what I mean? And it's a smite off, and if you fuck it up and die, that can be your game. Right there in 3 minutes. And that's
something else that really helps, though, is lane priority, right? So your jungler needs that scuttle. You need to understand when you're in mid or in bot and you're going for that bot side jungle or bot side scuttle, push your lane. You just walking towards the scuttle crab means the other jungler has to leave. He can't handle that, right? So lane priority and understanding how you can help people around you is really going to help you when you're making that climb through gold. You have to think less of your own specific skill set and more of how can you aid your team. I think you can carry a lot more in silver, and once you get to gold, you need some help. You can hard carry some games, but it's a lot easier if you can drag everyone else along with you.
And 3 or 4 episodes ago, Astros and I did a podcast pretty much on priority. So if you skip that, you can go back and check that out. We talk a little bit in depth about the greater points of priority, and what to do with it, what it means, how to rock that.
Okay, I thought of one more while you guys were going. Roaming.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is the time when that's a skill to start learning, because in gold you will not be as punished for bad roams as you would in higher elos. It's a harder skill to learn later. And again, it makes the glass ceiling of plat that much thicker if you don't start getting a feel for it now. Right? Like, this is the time you take the training wheels off on that kind of stuff. Like,
and you got to experiment with it too. You know what I mean? Like, it's these are not skills that you're just going to pick up. And you will, lose some games the more you try to focus these, because you got to, if these are techniques that you're not used to or you're not doing, it's going to take you a while, and your proficiency and other things are going to drop because your mental APM is focused on new stuff. And as that becomes more practiced and more innate, overall, you'll become a better player.
So, like, I had like a epiphany moment, like, not too long ago, and I was watching my son Mick try to ride his bike. We just got him a Cars bike, and he like loves that. And he sucks at riding it though, like just terrible. I can't get him to figure out that like when you pedal, you like pedal forward and not backwards if you want to go really fast, because the backwards is brakes, right? And he'll like go, and then he'll go, and he'll go, ah, and like fly forward. You have to catch him. So I was watching this, I was like, God, he sucks so hard at this, but he gets going for a while and it looks good, and then he's like, just sucks. I was like, so, man, that's rough. And then, like, I mean, he didn't like it, he was getting frustrated, and then finally he got the hang of it towards the end. I mean, he was tired at that point, so it was like, fuck this anyway, I'm done for the day.
He literally said that.
Yeah, I mean, kid curses like a sailor. You just can't understand a word he's saying. So, regardless. Anyway, he actually kind of got it towards the end, and it was pretty impressive because he went like 3 times further than he had gone before. I was like, holy shit! Like, through effort, he just learned that skill. The difference is, like, you're playing League. You don't have anybody who's standing behind you going, no, buddy, just keep pedaling, and like pushing the fuck out of the bike so you don't stop and flatten your face on the pavement. Like, you don't have that. So you have to be that for yourself. Like, you have to fill that role your damn self. And most people will take failure, like instantaneous failure, and say, I don't need to be doing that. And that's the lesson they learn. And then they reinforce that lesson every time they fail. And so they stop trying before they develop proficiency. And that's what leads to the Platt glass ceiling. Right? So let's talk about the Platt glass ceiling. You guys got anything else about gold before we go to Platt?
I was gonna say one more thing about gold.
Shoot.
Know your role. Like, not just I'm not talking about top mid. Like, you don't.
Dominant, submissive.
Yeah, that too. Or fluid. Switch, whatever
Yeah.
you want to do. But in silver, you develop a mentality, particularly if you're a mechanical player, non-macro oriented. Of I'm going to take these 4 brain dead fucking carbon based morons and I'm going to carry them across the finish line. Sometimes that's what you have to. And in
Yeah.
gold, like, you don't have to do that all the time. In fact, trying to do that can be counterproductive. If you let other people carry the game, like, you don't have to carry every game the higher up you get. And in fact, you identifying yourself as the carry when you're not can get in the way, especially, from a jungle standpoint. It's like, look, my Vayne just got 4 kills in the first 12 minutes. I can build tank. I don't need to be the damage this game.
My objective has changed.
Yes.
Like
Protect that Vayne.
those like RTS games where like the first half of the mission you're building up your base and like building defenses and shit, and then all of a sudden the convoy arrives and you must protect the fucking convoy.
Fucking Zeratul, every time, and his goddamn zealots.
Yeah, so like if you have a
show up.
fucking 4-0 Vayne, protect the fucking convoy. Like
Yeah.
that is now your mission. Your mission objective has changed. You now protect the fucking convoy. So there
And
you
take,
go.
for instance, your 0-2 top in that scenario. Don't keep fighting. We don't need you to fight and feed the other top. We need you to survive, CS as best you can, and let Vayne carry you. So it's important to know it's not just what your build is, but also what your teammates are doing. Now, don't get me wrong, if your 4-0 Vayne is actually an 0-4 Vayne, well, then you can take a few risks and see if you can buff up so that you might be able to do something later in the game. But you can.
Well, I mean, I'll just put it this way: like you're bleeding, right?
Right.
Like you're bleeding. The trick is don't hemorrhage, right? And you definitely don't want to get that action movie scene where you are bleeding and hemorrhaging so bad that like the blood is like rolling out of your mouth and the only thing you can do is spit it on the guy who's running you through. Like that's a terrible position to be in. You don't want to be that guy. You want to be the guy who's like, maybe getting blood spit on him. This has gotten weird. I didn't really
I'm
think
with
this
you.
through, but yeah, you want to be the second guy is better because it's not your blood. That's always a better situation. It's not your blood, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, let's fade towards that, right? So, yeah, if you got a cut, that's fine. You got a cut. You're behind. You need to tend that. Don't let it get worse. Or if it's going to get worse, let it get gradually worse so the rest of your team has an opportunity. Don't create a goddamn superhero. Like, don't go from behind to radioactive spider.
Yeah, know your role.
So, okay. Platt, right? You've done it. You've cracked the top 8%. Good on you. That's hard to do. You're a good player. Objectively so. Now that you're a good player, you have less and less things to which you can improve on. You have less avenues for quick gains and advancements. It requires time, effort, and energy. Your teammates don't get smarter. It does not happen. And welcome back to the land of raw toxicity and entitlement, because that's Platt. So I hope
That's the joy that is Platt.
Yeah, I hope your mental health is strong, because you're going to need that aspect of the game probably more than anything else. So you're in Platt. How do we get the fuck out of Platt, right? And I keep talking about that Platt is the glass ceiling of League. What do I mean? Do you guys have any insight on that, or you want me to just roll with it?
I'm fairly new to Plat, so I'm still working it out. So educate me, Papa.
Sweet. So, plat is the point at which you will stagnate unless you deeply analyze your own gameplay and find out what hard-fought, ingrained beliefs you have that are holding you back. Right? So, what do you do because you've failed so many times that you no longer do? Okay, I need to rephrase that. That doesn't make sense. So, like, okay, remember what I said earlier. Every time you fail, the average person will look at that and say, okay, I failed. I need to not do that anymore. Right? And then you fail again and you go, oh, I failed. I've reinforced that. And now it's not that I don't need to do that anymore. I really need to make a mental effort not to do that. You fail 3 times, and then it's a rule that is hard and fast in your mind that, like, I will never do that. Whatever that thing is equals death. 3 fails prove it. Done. Right? So I've made a rule in my mind. And those are things like this. Never tower dive before 6. Right? Because I die doing it all the time, so never going to do that. Right? Or, the tower is instantaneously fatal at all points of the game. Right? So we don't want to touch that. We definitely don't want to attack the enemy when we're like 5v3 because they're under the tower and it'll one-shot or something, even if you're late in the game. Because a lot of people actually think that the tower hurts in the late game. It doesn't. Anybody with any armor can just shrug off tower shots. It's not a problem. Right? Only take Baron when everybody's dead.
Yeah.
That's another one. Counter jungling. That's one. Because people just don't want to go to the risk of doing that. When to all in, when to use ults and summoner spells, all the things that I was talking about earlier, like these are things that can actually hold you back. Playing aggressive, making sure auto attacks. That's one that I didn't say when we were in gold, and I want to go back and say, use your damn auto attacks. It makes a huge difference in the outcome of any fight if you auto attack between abilities as often as you can.
And what he means is for support specifically.
Yeah.
I'm picturing top laners like, what the fuck? Of course I auto attack.
Right. Supports don't. Supports will just feel like what I am is a pile of abilities. Right? Like I hit the hook, I hit the flay, or whatever. I bubble, I did my heal bounce. Hooray!
Could be worse. It could be a festering pile of shit with maggots and flies.
Especially if you're ranged into a frickin' melee matchup as a support. That guy should never ever show his face without getting a little plink to the nose.
Yeah, a little whomp to the noggin. Yeah, it could be worse. You could be a festering pile of shit that also vapes. You know?
I'm vaping. I'm a vapor. I'm not
so anyway, yeah, sure. It is. Probably. I don't know. We'll wait. The research will come out on that soon.
Put it on my tombstone, baby.
It was better than vaping. It's like, that's the quote. Or it's better than smoking.
These are essential oils, Blake. This is rosemary oil.
Oh, God. You know what's funny is...
I'm going to realign my crystals.
My sister-in-law is huge into, like, essential oils and shit. Like, thinks it's actually a cure for shit. And, like... I'm of the opinion that some of them may do some things. I don't know what they are. It's not medicine, and they reek, right?
You know what essential oils are a cure for? Bland potatoes. Put a little rosemary oil.
Actually, that's true. Some of those things are actually pretty good for spices. The lemon one in water is nice. So, but for real though, like she'll just walk up and be like, "Oh, did you cough?" And then like rub a vial of shit on your face. And I'm like, "No, I actually didn't cough, and now I smell bad. Thanks." You know.
Put some Windex on it.
Yeah, there's some Windex on it. What was that? What was that from?
The wedding, the Greek wedding. Movie.
Oh yeah, Windex. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, Windex, glass ceiling, and we're back, right? So So what I mean is, I'm going to use Zill as an example. I've used him as an example 100 times, right, for this exact thing, but I'm going to do it again. Because he's actually getting better at doing this kind of stuff. But like, there was the longest time where Zill would sit on the outside of a fight, throw 2 bombs in, and then use his speed to get the fuck away from that fight while he waits for those bombs to come back up. Right? Like that used to be that's what I do. I'm playing Zillion. This is what I do, and I'm not in danger. Hooray! And I finally, like, I don't know if I want to use the word berate, encouraged. Let's do that
No,
one.
it was definitely berate, but we'll
No,
go
no,
with
it was encouraged.
encourage.
It was encouraged. I finally encouraged him enough that he actually stays in a bit longer, does things, like causes people to use time on him, and I don't even mean damage. Damage though may be part of it. Like your health bar is a resource, right? You only die if it's at 0, you don't die if it's at 1, right? It's a resource. And if you get them to burn 4, 5, 600 damage on you and you don't die, you've done your team a favor. Because if they put 4, 5, 600 damage on somebody who's in the middle of the team fight that's about to die, you lose. Right? So, congratulations. You lost the team fight and took no damage. That's bad. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to be that guy. So, um, things like he had some hard ingrained passivity into the way he played. Like it was very deep, and I would tell him like, "Oh, you could have done this," and he'd be like, "No, no, no," and then like he'd watch it again or he'd think about it for a while, and he'd go, "Okay, yeah, maybe I could have, yeah," and like gradually that levee is starting to crack and break and progress is being made, right? But those hard ingrained reactions are your enemy in Plat. It is time to relearn the game from the ground up and get rid of all your preconceived notions because you have built every play has the potential to generate garbage data, and that garbage data piles up. And by the time you get to Plat, you're standing in a landfill and you don't know it. So you just believe it to be normal. Like these are all solid good rules and they're not. It's just piled up garbage of bad ideas. So you've got to kind of free your mind on doing that. And that's where it's easier to do that if you fill in the gaps and kind of master those fundamentals and start thinking that way in gold, where you build a really good foundation of skills, right? Because then you can wipe out your preconceived notions and use those skills effectively and reevaluate how far is too far, how much aggression is too much. You know, is this a good time to get Baron? Is this a good time to get Dragon? What do we push a tower here? What do we do? Like those are macro decisions. And by the way, macro is back in Plat. Plat's the land where macro actually makes a difference. But these kind of things, like how you fight fights, uh, and so like the auto attack thing, it's not just for supports. Like Zill needed to do that too. Like there were fights where he'd throw the bombs, he'd speed out. If he speeds out, he's not throwing autos. Like he's not pinging people with just consistent little bitch gears that Zillion throws at people that do what, like 70 damage a piece, right? If you throw 6 of those, that's 420 damage. That's a lot.
You could see it for ADCs too, where they'll take an Ez for instance. He'll Q from the max Q distance and maybe hit one of 3. Or he could be in auto attack range because they've blown their gap closers and he could be outputting a lot of damage. But you're Ez and you're safe, so you're just queuing from as far away as possible. So I think the key to climbing in Plat is to be positive and self-critical. And
Yeah.
what I mean by that is take away the positives from the plays you make and analyze what could have made those plays slightly better. Plat can be a desolate wasteland of toxicity. It absolutely can. And I've gotten into that mode before in the middle of, like 3 or 4 game losing streak. And I'm just like, these idiots don't know what they're doing. And then I'll make a bad play and I'll be like, they should have followed me in. No, they should have never followed me in. I made a bad play. You can analyze it and you can be like, oh, you know what? They had just blown all their abilities, and then I flashed in and got a great route, right? And caught 3 guys in my ult. But no one was ever going to be able to do anything with that. So I think I've been plat 4, plat 5, like, I don't know, 5 seasons in a row or something. And at the start of this season, I climbed to plat 1, 94 LP. This is the closest I've been to diamond in a very long time. I haven't played ranked in a little while because I got a little burnt out on that trip and I wanted to refresh the mechanism. But what I noticed, what I did is I sat and I critically thought about the moves I was making, and a lot of it's little things. Like I would always do like the same build order, right? It's a good build order. I found a good build order. I play Zyra, right? So I really liked the items that I was doing. And what I started doing is right in the loading screen, I'm like, okay, let's look what we're up against. What are we dealing with? Then as the game starts progressing, we're like, okay, these are the 2 main threats. They both have healing, and my guys aren't going Morellos. Okay, I'm going to get Morellos. I think that's going to be more helpful to us. Okay, in this game, there are 2 assassins. I got a Kha'Zix and a Talon. And I'm up 2-0-2 in bot lane right now. Okay, well, I'm a damage threat, and I'm a danger. I'm actually going to go Zonya's second item. And that means that when they come at me, I can pop my R down and hit Zonya's. They'll have wasted their ult on me, and they might die. I started really critically thinking about what I was doing in game, how I was leading up to those moments, and it was working very well for me. I started, my climb in gold 1, I think, gold 2, and I was at about a 74% win rate with Zyra up until plat 1. And I really attribute it to, one, taking a lot of the lessons that I was talking about here in League. I was talking to Zill about it all the time. He's like, you really need to say this stuff on the podcast. I was like, try and remind me next time. But it's really like critically analyzing your play, knowing you can get better. Like I'm not the most mechanically gifted. I can name 20 people in LOLA far more mechanically gifted than I am. But that means,
hold on. Astros is more mechanically gifted than me.
Oh, hands down. Astros is a very mechanically gifted player, and there's quite a few out there. I think there's some silvers out there who are probably mechanically more gifted than I am.
Most definitely.
But it's okay. I mean, whatever. I'm old. I'm not mechanically gifted. I can deal with that. That means I can work on other areas that do propel me above. So I think it's really important.
Hold on 1 second. Double, if I didn't see you blink, I would think your camera had frozen. What is this? You have like the most sour face on right now. It was like, what is this motherfucker talking about? So, you have any weigh in on this? Like, what's the double sniff?
No, I mean, like I said, I'm new to plat, and it's just such a different beast because I got to plat and was playing, getting about 55, 45, and then I went on this fucking tear and won like 11 games in a row. And I knew it was going to happen. Bottom dropped out, and so I was counting it. I lost 9 games in a row over the last 10 days. Now, I didn't play but a couple days. I tried to protect my elo. Like, old me, like 2 seasons ago, would have just kept playing and chasing the dragon and fucked myself all the way back down to gold. But I limited myself on that. So I'm kind of in this weird spot where I'm trying to figure out how to get back to where I was when I was killing it. You know what I mean? So I'm just focusing on what you guys are talking about because this is really good for me, just from a listener standpoint. I don't have much to contribute because it's like I haven't been here that long, and it just this seems like such a different beast, and I came to that conclusion earlier. I was like, Platinum's kind of a different beast. Like maybe it's a more streaky situation. But what
Well, like I
caught me
said,
off?
it's a lot about evolution at that point. Like Plat is about evolution. You need to lose long-held negativities and things that are holding you back, preconceived notions. You need to improve on the things like Danger really hit the like this is the way in which I improved myself every single game, and this is how I focused on sharpening the blade, like over and over and over again, and kept my focus there and didn't get mired down into negativity, right? But like everybody's got their cross to bear in this thing. Like Astros is a more mechanically gifted player than me. His mentality is about like an eighth of mine in terms of resiliency to tilt, right? And that is something that really holds him back. Like I wish that he didn't have. I mean, if he didn't have that, he'd probably be diamond like fairly easily, I would think. But like, he's got to figure out a coping mechanism for that shit. Either that or he's gonna go like you don't break glass by just slowly pushing on it. You break glass by like taking a step back and then ramming your ass through it, right? Like that's how this works is you have to look at what you're doing, make hard cuts, so take a step back, then rush forward. And if you don't, you're just going to like yeah, you can sit there and like I'm gonna push on this glass until it breaks. Ah! And then maybe gradually you'll crack, and then you'll bust through, and oh my god, I got the diamond. But like, you didn't have that catharsis moment. Like, you didn't come out of it with any kind of new understanding. And next season, you're gonna have the same exact problem climbing, and you're gonna feel like you're stuck in plat again.
And I think what happened was like when I had that big long streak and I got all the way to platinum 2, like that was sort of the moment where I was like, okay, I belong here. You know what I mean? Because I squeaked in before and I was like, and I had all these preconceived notions, but I mean, I was just shitting on people up here, and I was like, holy shit, okay, I can compete with these folks. And then all of a sudden, I was just losing games, and it's just a bad luck streak. But at the same time, it was just like so that's why you look on the camera, I'm looking kind of, I'm just focused because this is really good stuff for me. This is why before I was invited to contribute to the podcast, I used to listen to the podcast because like I would get information that made me a better player. And corn, of course.
Right, you learn all about it.
Yeah, corn.
It's what everyone comes to the podcast
Yeah,
for.
yeah,
right.
I want to get better.
Come for the
and I
corn,
need
stay
corn.
for the elo. But yeah, so yeah, I'm paying attention. I'm just going over the parts of my game that are fucking horrible.
No, you look like you had perpetual I have diarrhea face on.
Oh, I always
when
have diarrhea.
Danger was
Yeah,
that's his face. Like let it go, man.
Yeah, I can
like
sort out
those
shit at any
commercials where like the family will be in the car and they're all like ha 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 ha, and then somebody will go and they're like diarrhea, like that was
they captured the moment accurately, those commercials too.
like oh we're laughing, we're having a good time in the van, and oh I pooped my pants. Shit.
It's always like a timpani drum too. It's like the boom.
Oh no! I've done shit to myself. Anyway, but yeah, like I honestly believe like plat is the crucible. Like diamond is pure refinement and it's doing what you did in plat all over again. But plat is the first time that you will truly be required to break yourself in order to get out. Like you have to have that moment where you come to like I don't know, like a catharsis moment, or you know what I'm talking about.
Think of the boxing movie where they lose their first bout, right? And they're like, "Oh, should I just give up?" No, They don't give up. They start their montage scene, and then you start the montage, and then as soon as the montage is over, you've rediscovered what you can do, and they go beat that exact guy.
No,
That's what it
honestly,
is.
I think it's more like an anime, right? Where
Well,
they're
it's
like,
always an anime.
well, no. I mean, where like they'll be like, "Oh my God, I am in this unbeatable situation." And then they'll be like, "Oh wait, but this uses ice, and if I throw water at them, the water will become an ice projectile, and all of a sudden I have figured out how to beat this enemy while being stabbed." Yata! You know, and that's like, that is plat, is you have this like, what? Moment where all of a sudden shit just clicks for you because you've like shed a layer of garbage off of yourself. Like you've dropped a whole bunch of your like hard-held beliefs that were just wrong and reinforce the ones that you know to be right. Right? And if you're good at doing that kind of thing, if you're good at introspection, if you're good at like, you know, cutting away things from yourself that are holding you back, then you will climb out of plat fairly easily. Like for me, and this is not a pat myself on the back thing. That's so please don't take it that way. But my main deficiency was looking at the map. All I did to get out of plat is I looked at the fucking map. Like I didn't the way in which I progressed from silver through gold through plat was really just like I was already doing those refinement things in gold. I was already building those good habits and those hard skills in gold. I just had glaring deficiencies. And so for me, getting out of plat was not shattering the glass ceiling because the glass was super thin. It was building up a bit of a base so I could reach the glass ceiling and just break it and go into diamond. Right? Like I did not have that because I already had those requisites met. I just wasn't good enough at the baseline things. But plat in general, most people that get there, actually the vast fucking majority of people that get there have are like well-rounded for the most part, but they don't do things they need to do to get advantages because they are either afraid to or because it's gone so poorly before that they can't shake that. That they just think this is just not something I do. I don't know how many times I've had people tell me, "Oh no, I never tower dive pre-4." That's dumb. Why? If you can pull it off. You know, why not do it if you can pull it off? Why not call your jungler down and have somebody else, like you tank tower, wait till you're about to, then walk out and let the other two finish the kills while they tank tower? It's not hard. You figured out how to do it because you practice doing it. And then once you practice doing it, you have a new skill. And that skill can tip the scales for you getting out of plat. And you do that with enough of those kind of things that all of a sudden you have not only a skill, but a foundation of skills in which you can build on. So, I mean, that's really what it is. And, you know, like I said, Zill, he's there. He could be out of plat. He knows macro well. And macro is, I'm not going to talk about macro except to say that you have to get better at macro and plat, right? Because it does make a difference. That being said, we literally won a plat game, Zill and I did, last night, or the night before last, where we busted the top turret, top inhibitor, killed 4 people. They were respawning while we were killing the Nexus, and we were in a to the death fight, killing the Nexus. Right? Like, we got to finish it off before they kill us. It's going to be close. And then I look back and our Urgot is over there machine gunning middle inhibitor. And you're like,
nice. Because his back row was better than yours, right?
I was like, what the fuck are you doing? We need you down here, asshole. Like, you're like 3 auto attacks makes this not even close, and you're taking mid inhibitor? What?
Just in case you fail. That's smart.
Yeah,
Use your backup.
it's got 2 lanes pushing that way. The game could be over, but fuck, I mean, 2 lanes though, friend. Like it's that kind of shit. So it's obviously it's not required, but yeah, this is the time when that's actually going to make a big difference whether you win or lose games as it starts adding up now, right? And then in Diamond, if you didn't learn those skills in Plat, you're going to have a hell of a time there. So, yeah, like that is what you need to do. That is what you need to focus on is shattering those things that are holding you back, honing those things that you are already good at, and really shoring up the things that you have deficiencies in. Because that was my big problem is I had high peaks and very low valleys. And so I just had to bring up my valleys, and that was me, right? Most people they have medium peaks, somewhat low valleys, and there's nothing to build on because they have mental blocks that have to be removed. Period. And so this is also the first elo that I think coaching is truly beneficial is is Plat. Like that's the one where consumable resources matter less than individual instruction.
I agree with you on that because I've watched a lot of silver and gold coaching videos, and it's always the same. Like if you watch 10 silver, gold, it's always the same lesson. There's nothing individualized for it. Like at least maybe that's because I'm watching the same guy, but even with other things, the lessons are all the same. You need to do this. You need to be aggro here. You need to punish them for doing things. It's always the same issue for that. And yeah, I was actually gonna bring that back up because one of the things that I do disagree with you on is earlier you had said it's like you're on your own. It's like you're not. There are people who help you. And that is a very good resource. The community that we've built here, well, y'all built it. I just kind of I'm riding some coattails. But the community that we're all a part of, is here to help y'all. You know what I mean? Like if you're struggling, ask for help. There are tons of great players in our community, and there are tons of great resources out there. There's people in third world countries that will coach you for dirt cheap because $12 is a lot of money in Poland.
You see this nickel? I bought my own hotel.
I got coached from a guy. He was in Poland. I paid him $12. I got 2 hours of instruction.
Exclusively in all vowels.
I was happy. Like, yeah.
He yelled vowel sounds at me for 2 hours. I'm pretty sure I'm scared into doing bad now. Too scared.
But yeah, those resources are out there. Reddit's great. There's a thing called League of Mentoring. If you want to get paired up with that, they've got a Discord channel. Check out this stuff. And if you're a one trick, find those streams. There's streamers out there playing your champion at a high level. That helped me out a lot. Was finally finding a guy that plays Warwick as a challenger. It's like, holy shit, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. Go to those Reddit, Warwick mains, Tryndamere mains, whatever your main is. There's a Reddit thread. You can find enough stuff to figure out what works for you. Because maybe the best players that are streaming aren't the best people to teach you. Maybe you don't
I'll tell you this.
As much from
Stop trying to learn from fucking pros if you're not in that neighborhood of Elo, right? Like, pros have nothing to teach you if you're a silver player. You won't learn much of anything. They are playing an entirely different game than you.
Especially the mechanics. Like, it's just insane, their mechanics. So, yeah, if you're a Riven main and you want to learn all the that's good. I mean, it's not... You better have some really baseline high-level mechanics if you think that's your go-to move.
So, like, here's what I mean by they're playing a different level than you. Or a different game than you. If you are in Challenger and somebody gets first blood and they come back with like a longsword or something, right? That lane is lost in Challenger except a dramatic outplay or something. Because here's the difference. If they're trading with you, they're probably going to trade with you to death. And that extra 10 damage a hit means you die first. And they know that. And in low elo, they'll just do like one trade. And it's easy to get, a beneficial trade at lower elo. Like, oh, I shot you and I hit Q. Ha ha! And you didn't hit me back. Ha ha! Right? And that doesn't happen in the highest elos. Like, you always take return damage. So that longsword matters a hell of a lot more in Challenger than it does in Silver. It just does, right? Like, this is a totally different game to play. If you want to learn how to climb, look at what the people in Elo or 2 above you are doing and emulate that.
With my example, like I was more interested in seeing what he was building and rune pathing. And
well, okay, so keep in mind
about my champion a little bit different.
Yeah, keep in mind whenever I say that, if you're in plat, an elo or 2 above you is like diamond and master challenger. Okay, whatever. I mean, you're in the right neighborhood at least. So
right. If you're in the top 5%, you're going up to the 2% or the 0.5%, right? So,
right. So
there you're not talking about as big a jump as if you're in the top 70% and then you're looking at a 1%.
Right.
Totally different. If you're silver or gold, you should be. I mean, we've got like what else? Well, going back to the original point was we've got plenty of platinum players in the community that don't necessarily podcast. Get in the Discord, say hey.
Oh yeah, there's a ton of chat always going on in general or in Q&A. Yeah. Like it's all over.
So on that note, let's talk a little bit about announcements. We'll wrap this thing up. So coaching. A lot of people have asked me for coaching. I'm like, yeah, just hit me up when I'm online or whatever, right? And I'll coach you. And then they'll be like, okay. And then I don't hear from them for a long time. And they're like, it didn't work out. Never could get the guy. Well, just keep asking me. We'll make it happen. Like, I will do it. It's not a problem. I've just got to be available. And keep in mind, my work has been super crazy the last, 3 months. So that's been an issue for me. But I'm still around. I'm still willing to do it. I know these other guys are too. This can work. You just keep on it. Like, persistence is how you get it done. Because we're doing this for free. The other option is we could charge for it, and then I would probably be more willing to actually just schedule something if I knew I was charging for it. Right? Because then I could actually raise some money for the podcast if that's what you guys want. But I've always tried to make improvement accessible, and I don't want to hide something like that behind a paywall unless it's something that makes it more accessible. Which, like I said, if we're charging, then I would be more inclined to say, okay, I'll skip playing solo queue for a while to, make $10 for the podcast or something. I don't know. But if that is something that you all want to do, let me know. Like, write in, send an email. Is this something that we should really, should we be charging for it? Or is it okay on kind of a when you can basis? Right? Let me know. Because I'll do what you guys want. It's your community. Okay.
And actually, I just exercised my authority and power in the Discord and made a new text chat channel called Coaching Requests. So hop in there if you're looking for coaching or VOD review and say, hey, I would like somebody to review my VOD, and we'll see if this works. If it doesn't, we'll delete the channel and we can just pretend this never happened.
Okay. If this gets flooded, it's not on me. So, just to let you know. Yeah, that's fine. And then congratulations to the ARAM tournament winners. I know that Astro's team won because he asked me if we were doing skins for the winners, and I said, well, we weren't, but I will. And then I go, who won? And he goes, oh, I did. My team did. I'm like, you bastard. Like, all right, fine. So if you won and you're on that team, shoot me a text or in game or whatever. Hit me up, message me. I will try to get you your mystery skin, and we'll go from there. So congratulations to the winners. Who else was on Astro's team?
Bebow, Wooly Ooly, Sorry for the other two that I don't remember off the top of my head.
Well, there's like a list somewhere, isn't there? Like, didn't Zill
Yeah,
make a
but
list?
then we have to look it up. That seems like a lot of work right now.
Then we have to look at things and learn them. Like, oh god, it's terrible.
No,
So
I would like to say one thing
we
about
got
the
3
ARAM
of 5.
tournament.
That's like I'm betting 600.
When you sign up for a tournament, like go ahead and look at the date and visualize what you've got. Like, do us a favor. We had a lot of people that signed up for the tournament that were AWOL when it came to start. And Zill does a lot of work to set this thing up. And when we have to rearrange the teams like crazy, it makes organizing the tournament and running the tournament even more difficult. So if we want to keep having these tournaments, we're happy to have folks, and shit happens. But at the same time, like, please, if you're going to sign up, be mindful of the date and make sure that you are committing when it is a team. And if you
yeah,
don't show
well,
up,
I mean, the other thing
you
is
can leave
if
people on the hook.
well, and if you're not going to show up, like, let's say you say, okay, well, I've got a free calendar 3 or 4 weeks from now. Let's do this tournament on May 2nd or whatever the fuck it is. And then, a week prior, something comes up. Just let him know.
Yeah, just shoot a Discord. That's all it
Yeah,
takes.
let him know that you're not
just-
going to be there, and that would be super
no one,
helpful.
No one blames you. Everyone knows life gets in the way. But
Because then he can pre-plan. But being the guy who just like, I don't give a fuck and doesn't show up, really fucks over a guy who's trying to do something charitable for the group.
right.
So, anyway, there you have it. So congratulations to the ARAN tournament winners. It looked like a lot of fun. I think people had a lot of fun. So thank you guys.
I
got
did
some
not
mystery
have a
skins
lot
for
of
the-
fun.
How did your team just get ass smoked in the first round or something?
We
or
waited.
what?
We were the odd man team, so there were 5 teams. So like, what happened is my team got thrown together at the last minute, and we waited for the 2 teams to play. We played one, and it lasted like 13 minutes because we just got shit on. I think we had a bad draw too. Like, we had a Nasus. Like, what the fuck is a Nasus gonna do in an ARAM?
It's an ARAM, right?
It's an ARAM.
So
And then
that's the luck of the draw.
after that, the other 2 teams kept just making their games, and we were just sitting on the sidelines twiddling our thumbs. So we bowed out because it was like, what are we gonna do? But it shit happens. So not complaining. I am complaining. That was a complaint, but it is what it is.
I'm not complaining. Oh wait, no.
I'm not complaining.
No, I
got a
really,
bone to
really am.
pick.
But no, that's like I'm glad that people at least had fun with it, except double sniffed,
Mhm.
and whatever.
I mean, if
guess
somebody's gonna shit on it, might as well be me.
yeah,
Or-
might as well. Right?
If you're gonna
well,
shit on
so-
something, it might as well be the
I mean,
pile of
Ponderous
shit.
ain't around here to get shit on anymore. Might as well.
Yeah,
I'm-
yeah. You can now be the most bitchy member of the podcast by default. Like
No,
Ponderous
nobody's
is
taking
gone.
that from Astros. Nobody's taking that from fucking Astros.
Oh
Please.
man, General Chet got savage on Astros, and it was actually he answered it the best possible way, which is like, yeah, I'm just out here making free content, but fuck me, I guess. Like I fucking died whenever I read that. Somebody was so mad at him for like I don't know like bow out to let a listener have his spot, and they got really pissed off, and he's like, "Well, fuck me, I guess." I fucking died. I was like, this right here. That's why he has rabid fans apparently, who won't stop emailing him.
Philosophers,
Yeah,
philosophy fans.
yeah, they're
Killing it.
good deep folk, existential. Anyway, all right. So with that, we'll wrap up the podcast.
Patreon, Daddy Patreon.
Oh yeah. Like, thank you, Patreon supporters. We really appreciate everything that you've done. We've been passing out mics, like nice ones. Not to these 2 idiots. Everybody else.
We know where we stand. It's
we've been passing out mics to people.
The winners of the ARAM tournament, they get mics.
No, they don't. They do not. That's a lie. Those things are fucking expensive. Nope. But no, it's been like I have to find like a Ziploc bag that I can put doubles in so it doesn't get dirty whenever he uses it. Dirty old vaping pigpen
Thank
festering shit bastard.
I'll buy my own damn mic. It'll be nicer than yours.
You would buy like
I
a
would.
mic.
I will fucking do that.
Yeti +1. It's like I bought a real Yeti. He's in my closet. He didn't record shit, but he's sought after. Check that shit out.
Gonna have that big like pantyhose circle thing, like the professional.
Yeti, you want a banana? Yeah, he's back there. So, anyway, we're still doing that. I'm trying to improve the mic quality of everybody. Zills is so sensitive it like picks up the cats fucking upstairs or something.
Oh shit! You usually pay extra for that.
Yeah, I mean, literally, he actually
I
complained
gotta
like,
start watching his stream.
well, no, Zill actually wrote me. He's like, this mic is so sensitive, it picks up the cats talking upstairs. I was like, Zill, if you think your cats are talking, you have a mental health issue, not a mic issue. You know, we had a good time with that. So, anyway, thank you guys for your support. We've kept everything up. The website's up. All of the RSS feeds are paid for, and we have enough left over that we can actually improve the audio quality of the podcast. And I really appreciate that. The editor really appreciates you guys actually paying him for his work. It makes all this possible, and I can't say enough. Like, thank you. So, with that, I will say good night, everybody!